The highly anticipated and overdue retrial of accused murderer Michael Colucci will begin today after a jury was unable to reach a unanimous verdict back in 2018. The Summerville jeweler is alleged to have murdered his wife, Sarah Lynn Moore Colucci, back in 2015 outside of a family-owned warehouse. Colucci previously went to trial on that charge in 2018, but the judge declared a mistrial when the jury said it could not reach a decision. Live 5's investigative reporter Emily Johnson talked with Colucci's defense team and tells us why they think he's innocent.
Michael has no earthly idea what it is he's done.
Michael Colucci.
He's the man accused of murdering his wife.
Michael Colucci told witnesses his wife hanged herself with a garden hose.
Tried to make Sarah Lynn Colucci's death look like a suicide.
Evidence showed Sarah Lynn was not strangled with a garden hose and that there was evidence of a fight or a struggle.
This breaking news just in the last 30 minutes, a judge has declared a mistrial in the case of Michael Colucci.
It's been a decade without justice in the death of Sarah Lynn Moore Colucci. And whether that justice is her husband being placed behind bars or Michael Colucci finally clearing his name is up to a jury of 12.
I want to be able to walk Michael out of that courtroom at the end of trial and have him start to rebuild his life. I do not believe that he did anything to harm Sarah. I don't believe there's any evidence out there that he would have ever done anything to harm her.
It was May 20th, 2015, when Sarah Lynn Moore Colucci and Michael Colucci stopped here at their jewelry store's warehouse in Summerville when Sarah needed to use the restroom. But now, 10 years later, the building remains abandoned as the truth behind what really happened here is unknown.
Colucci sat inside his car while waiting for Sarah to use the bathroom, but eventually he went to go check on her and found she hanged herself with a garden hose. An incident report states Berkeley County deputies found Sarah lying on her back on a concrete slab, a garden hose looped around the top of a chain link fence with a strand of blonde hair attached. Police originally investigated her death as a suicide, but around a year later, Colucci was charged with her murder. Scott Bischoff, one of Colucci's defense attorneys, says there's no credible evidence that Sarah's death was a homicide.
They're going to struggle, I think, with figuring out how to present the case in a way that's even remotely believable. And I think, again, all the evidence points to a suicide, maybe accident, but nothing points to homicide at all.
During the first murder trial, prosecutors told the jury Colucci's story of his wife committing suicide didn't make any sense and claimed his explanations for the incident kept changing. They even suggested Colucci staged the crime scene. But before the retrial can even begin, dozens of motions by both the state and defense have been filed in court.
Her text messages, which are really the most reliable evidence, they don't lie. Those are objectively facts on what happened, what she was thinking, and how Michael reacted to that.
The text messages Bischoff refers to include a log of Sarah's text messages and phone calls from the days leading up to her death, which were not fully admitted into evidence during the first trial, but will now be allowed. Sarah texted her husband on May 12, 2015, quote, "I'm telling you I love you. I'm shooting myself in the woods."
I think all of those messages put together show that she was a person who was very depressed.
Another new piece of evidence is an interview between the South Carolina Attorney General's office and Sarah's mother, Barbara Moore. In February of 2023, Moore stated 2 weeks before her daughter's death, she went over to the couple's home and found Sarah in the garage. During her interview, she says, quote, "Sarah was upset and crying and told Barbara if it wasn't for the kids, she would have hung herself in the garage."
She was abusing alcohol. She was not really being fully treated for depression, even though she clearly was depressed.
A blood toxicology report showed Sarah had a blood alcohol level of 0.238, cocaine and Xanax in her system at the time of her death. Sarah's death was listed as asphyxia by neck compression and the manner of death as undetermined. The defense plans on questioning the qualifications of the state's medical expert, Dr. Bill Smock, who is the only expert who deemed Sarah's death as a homicide.
And my hope is that Judge Young sees, after I present this mountain of evidence that challenges his credibility, that this is not a person who we can feel confident is going to be giving reliable testimony.
Both sides also plan to argue about how to present the necklace Sarah was wearing when she died, with the state arguing Colucci strangled her with it. 10 years after Sarah's death, 9 after Colucci was charged, and 7 since the first trial, it's safe to say all parties involved are ready for the case to be over.
What is your goal for the outcome in this trial?
I want to walk out with him and say, you know, here's your life back. I think he's ready for it to be over, but he's also ready for everyone to realize the truth. And we just want the truth to come out, and I think a lot of what we plan to present will be the full truth.
The South Carolina Attorney General's office declined to comment on the retrial. We asked Michael Colucci's defense if he himself will be taking the stand, and they described it as a decision that Colucci will have to make for himself. Now, today marks the first day in what may be an over 2-week-long trial. Live 5 News will be out here every single day with updates as the trial continues and what hopes to be the end of an over decade-long case. For Live 5 Investigates, I'm Emily Johnson.
Thank you, Emily. And just